Hello again. Long time no see. It's alive. Sounds healthy. You can switch it off now. Good morning, comrades. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to one of the most anticipated or requested videos, namely about my project car, my flooded project car, aka the RingTracktor. On the 14th of July, it got flooded. Slightly before that, it was just finished, and everyone wanted to know what happened to it ever since. Was it completely gone? Is it able to be repaired? And I'm going to explain to you everything, why it took so long to make this video, but why I still have your attention. I'm going to bring you out the main message of this video. This car will be auctioned off and all of the proceeds will go to the ones affected by the flood. It would be more precise towards the Health and Ist Gold Foundation, which was set up by Manta Racing for the affected employees. I will explain more of that in detail later on. So I only ask you once or twice a year to share one of my videos, and this is going to be that case. So even though maybe if you don't want to participate with the auction to buy this car, you can still share this video to raise awareness for this good cause. Again, all of the proceeds will be donated to the ones affected of the flood. So let's talk first about the car, because the car, for people who may end up on this channel or in this particular video or in this auction for the very first time and don't know about this, although the car is, of course, has lots of modifications, but I believe it's the story behind the car that makes the car, that gives the car character. So why on earth would you want to modify a Mark IV Golf TDI for track use? I've been fortunate enough to not have a necessity to owning or having a private car for many years, but then end of 2019 I made a decision to go and work for Rimac Automobili in Croatia, and then I needed something to drive and to also be able to drive not only there but also come to the Nürburgring every 2 weeks. And since our mechanic George had a Mark IV Golf TDI, he said, you know what, that's a great car, you can do 1,000 kilometers on a tank of fuel and you can also do some laps with it. So that's why I decided to buy one. Shortly before that, in the summer, I had great experience with Darkside Developments, who are modifying diesel engines for not only track use, also drag racing use. So the moments after I bought the car, I immediately emailed Darkside Developments, said like, yo, I got myself a diesel, should we build something cool out of it? And this is how this long story started. Now, a fast forward, we started collecting a plan, making a plan of how we can make the car still drivable, yet track suited. So there were a couple of upgrades and updates were ordered, but we were living, and still are of course, in Corona time. So it took a lot of delay to actually get all the parts together. And by the time I got majority of the parts together, I decided to leave Rimac Automobili, and that was around August last year in 2020. And it's also when I crashed the first car. So because this is actually the second body. Before that, I had another one of 5 doors. The car was destroyed on the track. Well, only the body was destroyed, but that was also the part that costed the least, because the most expensive parts, doesn't matter if it's only one single seat, by now it costs more than the whole body of a Mark IV Golf TDI nowadays. And then I said, you know what, let's not give up. Let's still rebuild the car and make it even better. We even had ideas to go racing with it in RCN. But long story short, I decided to build a pretty extreme Mark IV Golf TDI for the Nürburgring. So I said, yo, Darkside, I'm back at the Nürburgring now. I don't need the durability. Of course, I still need some durability, but it doesn't matter if the car breaks down on my way between Croatia and Nürburgring and we get stuck somewhere in Slovenia or Austria. You know what? Go a bit more crazy, and let's go a bit more crazy with other mods. So the engine was built, which is now producing 300 horsepower, to be more precise 299, and more than 500 Newton meters. I don't remember the exact values, I should have looked them up, but the car has been on the dyno, has been tested. And the most sad part is once it came back from UK, when the car was built and finished and tested, The car arrived here at Nasy Performance, where it was supposed to get its tooth, to put everything in the papers, and then I should be able to drive with it on the street. Unfortunately, before that happened, the car got hit by a flood. More importantly is, of course, that the whole workshop was flooded, everything was destroyed and lost, and the car was unfortunately not insured against natural disasters. No, because I was thinking, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? A tree gonna fall on it? We already had a chunk of ice fall off the roof on it and destroy the window and dent the front bonnet. So I'm like, I'm not gonna insure that. That's not worth the money, because yeah, I then might as well buy another body type. But who's gonna expect a flood or some other natural disaster? So the car is unfortunately not insured, so insurance is not covering it. Now, the most important thing, however, is, as you can see, the engine still runs. The rest of the upgrades on this car are also not really affected by the flood. We see, of course, the brakes that are a bit rusted. The only downside, well, of course, also the casual panels, the lights, you can see they're still covered in mud from the inside. The only thing currently that hasn't been fixed or checked properly is that you cannot put the car in gear, because probably the clutch is fully covered in mud. This is something that we experienced, or actually Nasy experienced with other cars when he was disassembling them, and this could be the case. But the most important thing, the most expensive part of the car is actually still intact, the engine. And then of course everything else, the suspension, the brakes, the seats. Nasy was kind enough even to clean the seats, because they were completely, well, in a lot worse condition, let's call it that way. But now they are actually quite okay. They're almost brand new, because in fact they are brand new. The passenger seat, I only had someone on there, and the driver's seat is also brand new because it has been replaced after the incident. Now, the big question now comes is a couple of things. So first of all, the car will be auctioned off on collectingcars.com. I've decided to put a minimal reserve of 10,000 euros on it, and of course everyone can bid above, but this is only a small part of the actual value of the car, or the amount that I have spent on this car. I'm going to explain why in a bit. We're going to go over all the mods and give you like a rough estimation of the cost, how much everything has costed. And but before we do that, let me answer a couple of questions. First of all, why did it take so long to make this video? Honestly, this is one of the least important questions, but I know I've been saying like I'm doing it later, I'm doing it next week. But first of all, the first month, we had absolutely no interest in this car, not at all, because the people needed help. They still need help. Nasy is currently repainting his shop. I'm going to show it to you later on. And there are even worse cases. You could have seen it like 2 months ago. So the first month, I didn't even ask Nasy like, so what's up with the Golf? That was like none of our interest. Later on, of course, I wanted to see if the engine runs, because there were, usually with modern cars, that probably wouldn't be the case, but the old mighty Mark IV Golf TDI, apparently you can flood it. Maybe it can survive even volcanic eruption, like, you know, like the Vesuvius or something. Okay, let's leave out the bad jokes for now. But luckily, well, thanks again, Nasy, for investing your time. He managed to get the engine running. So this makes sure that the car should be more valuable. Later on, a lot of people involved had to go on a very deserved holiday. These gentlemen too over there at the same time. So that's why it took longer to actually get ourselves together and make a video, and in this case also pictures for collecting cars. And that was also another important thing. I had to find the right platform to make everything right, to make sure that everything is going to go well, that the platform is good. They also agreed to not to take any fees, because this will be done for the charity. And finally, also speaking of the charity, I spent many days, probably weeks, thinking about where should I donate the money. First, I was thinking maybe I can divide the amount among multiple parties. I mean, we are also at Apex, we are running our own donation fund. Nasy is running a donation fund. The official government instances are running official fund. We had a great day when we saw how police was helping us out. I was thinking like, you know what, maybe we should donate them a bit, but German police is not allowed to accept any donations to avoid bribery. There were so many things, so many parties, and you know, in this case, in this situation, everyone deserves something, and it's very hard to make a choice, but I decided to donate it to, as mentioned in the beginning of this video, to the employees of Manta Racing who have been affected by the flood. Many of them lost everything, their complete houses, many of them had no insurances, and the reason why I chose that party is because that company, those people, is because Manta Racing has been very, I'm gonna like, not over exaggerate, but like under exaggerate things. They've been very good to me over all those years. Whenever they had a new product launch, they would invite me over, even though they didn't have to, even though some parties even didn't want me to attend those launches, but they always were including me even when I was a small-time YouTuber. So aside from that, when the flood happened, Manta closed their doors for multiple weeks to help out not only their employees, but also everyone else that was affected in the region. All of their racing trucks were used to haul the necessary emergency equipment, and they donated lots and lots of emergency goods and also money. So they've been really good, not only to me, but also people there. And this is why I decided, you know what, I'm gonna give it to them. So whatever this car will race, it will go to the ones affected from Manta Racing. Now I think we should talk about what you are going to get, what you are getting with this, if you are deciding to participate with the auction. Now, as mentioned, the body is kind of worthless. It was already worthless in the first place. I was already thinking of maybe I should replace it, or we're just gonna weld it over winter. So electronics are pretty much roasted, the lights don't work, so you should really consider bidding on this car, either because you want to donate to the charity to do good cause, but actually to part it out, to use those parts to put it on some other project, because body, forget about it. I'm not gonna even talk about this. Let's start with the main component, which is the engine. More than 10,000 euro has been spent on the parts alone. I have all the receipts, I have everything that was involved with it. So that was only the parts. Then of course comes the labor to ship it there. Of course, it's like kind of not necessary to cover the shipping costs and some other labor costs maybe for some people, but a lot more money has been spent also on testing, on dynoing, etc., on labor. So again, first of all, massive shout out to Darset Developments, who built such a great engine, great product, and also who were managed to have some fun on the track with it, because they're the only ones who drove this car, because after that, when it came here, as managed, the car got flooded, and that's it. I haven't driven a single meter with the car. The gearbox has been reinforced. It has a diesel geek, short shifter, it has reinforced clutch, lighter flywheel. You can find out all the mods, the list of mods in the video description, or also on the auction page of Collecting Cars. But as far as the starting bid price of this auction goes, the engine alone is worth well over 10 grand. Now, moreover, we have here JRZ RS Pro 3-way adjustable suspension, so rebound and compression, height of course as well. I want to give a big shout out to JRZ suspension, because the suspension actually was sponsored by them. And when the flood happened and I said like, listen, this is what I want to do with the car, do you want your suspension back, or can we include it in the auction? And they said, you know what, to help the ones affected, you can include it, so you can keep the suspension, even though that we're not getting any like exposure that we were hoping for on the track. This has a better cost. So the price of this suspension usually is between 5,000 to 7,000 euro, depending on the specifications. But why it's actually hard to pinpoint the price on this car is because they don't make these shocks for Mark IV Golf. So there was a lot of engineering and testing and development happened, so it would actually fit a Mark IV Golf TDI. So again, that is almost also the price alone worth that I would like to see at least this car collect. Moreover, also the next party is PROTRACK wheels. I had a rental agreement with them of the wheels, so I could borrow a set of wheels. If I destroy one, I have to pay for it, etc. Now, those wheels, again, they were borrowed to me by PROTRACK, and I said the same. Hey, I would like to auction off the car. Do you want me to give you money for this car, or do you want to just donate them with the car? And I said, you know, you can keep them. Again, thank you very much, PROTRACK Wheels, for participating in this cause. The price of a set of wheels is roughly 1,000 euro. I believe a half of that in addition would be for the tires, probably above 500 euros for Nankang Air 1, 225, 45, 17 sizes that have only seen one track day, one testing session. The car in total, like the drivetrain and the tires, etc., only ran for roughly, I believe, 200 kilometers. Dyno and then a track day, probably even less than that, I don't know. And of course some breaking in, the mandatory breaking in of the engine that was done to it. StopTech brakes, I believe those cost about 1,500 euros. When we go on the rear, I decided to put on the big brake kit from factory, which comes from the Golf R32 or the Audi TT. And since I didn't want to go with eBay parts, like a second-hand parts, these were bought new, and in addition we have also StopTech discs, but the new caliper kit and the braking kit new costed alone 900 euros. And then we also changed the pads. We're running Pagid RSL 29 in the front, I believe, and also different discs, StopTech discs in the rear. Then here on the back, it's quite nice and empty because the interior had to be thrown out because it was becoming moldy. We have a tow hook, but as mentioned, the rest of the chassis is kind of unimportant. Miltech exhaust over here, it's actually mostly only the rear silencer. And then in the front we have carbon-tastic steering wheel, which usually fits, well, actually all Volkswagens. In this case, it's actually originally made by Carbon-tastic for a Mark 7.5 Golf GTI, or a Golf R in this case, but it also fitted a Golf 4 TDI. The airbag inside has also been retrofitted, so it actually works. You could have seen that on the video where we made it. Then the Black Forest Industries shifter. As mentioned, it doesn't go well in gear at this point because you probably need to check the gearbox. One of the best upgrades I've done to the car, together with the gearbox revision or the shifter mechanism revision from Diesel Geek. And then finally also the seats. Oh no, it's closed on this side. So there we go. Thank you very much. Recaro Sportster CS, together with the consoles, so the sliders, the consoles, the seats alone and the sliders are roughly, they were around 1,500 euros each for the both sets, so 3,000 euro for this alone. Underneath also there are lots of goodies from Power Flags, so all the bushings have been reinforced. It has a quick steering rack from Audi TT that together with the trailing arms, so this was purchased also, I believe, for like 600 euros roughly, or 900, because I also got all the subframes and the shocks. Then lots of things on the engine were replaced, like the fuel pump, the starter motor of the gearbox we got brand new, the alternator because it broke once, the air conditioning pump is new. So again, when it comes to drivetrain and everything, it's actually completely brand new. It will serve you very well. And we have also ground control camber plates, I forgot to mention those. V-shears, front strut bar, the white line, anti-roll bar in the rear, and many other mods. Again, the older audience will know what's in there. The full list will be in the video description of all the parts, and most importantly also on the collecting parts page, together with 100+ pictures that Bore currently is taking. So also big thank you for your time for this cause. And there are a lot more other mods. So yeah, and the final question is, why have I not decided to rebuild this car? Because I've received dozens of messages from various companies, various garages, who said like, Misha, bring this car to us, we'll make it running again as either a brand deal or promotion, or just because we like you, or just because it's just an unfortunate thing that happened to you. But honestly, I already rebuilt this car once. I simply do not have the energy to rebuild it again. and wait for new parts again and have it done again. I'm simply tired of this. I'm tired of this car. Although it would have probably given me lots of emotional value, lots of fun when I would be overtaking a lot more powerful and expensive cool supercars on the Nürburgring that like we usually do. And on top, maybe you can call me a bit superstitious because, yeah, first the first car got crashed, then there was a block of ice falling on it. Like, there was always constantly something stopping me from making it easy. It was always something pushing me towards giving up. So maybe it's just not meant to be for me driving a Mark IV Golf TDI. Who knows? It could be. So this is why, all combined, I hope I pretty much answered all of the questions that you might have. I hope I have raised some interest among you guys to participate with this auction. Yeah, and who knows, maybe if someone buys it and rebuilds it, I would love to see what this car could do eventually on the track, or maybe this powertrain can do in any other track. So let me know what you think of it in the comments, participate with the auction, and yeah, for now we are saying probably goodbye to the RingTracktor in the shape and form that you know it, that was in my possession. One final thing that I forgot to mention, obviously, car comes without warranty. That should be pretty clear. And car was not, unfortunately, not toughed by the time the flood hit. So nothing is in the papers, but then again, the car is not drivable in its current state because lights don't work, etc., etc. But just wanted to underline that. Now finally, while Bora is taking pictures, I still may have some of your attention. Maybe let's go quickly check out Nasy's workshop. Hello.
Hi.
I actually told you when we got here that your shop looks better than before the flood.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe.
But it is horrible work.
Yeah.
Horrible. I hate painting, I hate building walls and everything.
So how high was the water here inside?
Like this.
You sure? Because the Golf, like, was it till here? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because the Golf was like till the dashboard.
Yeah, I think the cars are
they were
up from the tank.
Yeah, because the fuel tank has air in it partially, and the bottom rises because of that. But you've done a nice paint job here, man.
Yes.
Oh man. So that's how the cars look like. Oh, it's now pretty dark because I'm running ND filter. Maybe we can have a look there on the other car.
There you can see that my car is not touched like 10 weeks.
Yeah. Man. I will also include in the video description the video when we came and visited Nasy here, when he received the Golf, and we checked it out, and we checked out all these cars, and you can see how it looked like before the flood. Oh, camera too hot. Okay. Interesting. Camera got too hot and switched off itself, so hopefully it will maintain now for the last few seconds. Yeah, pretty dirty. Yeah. So are you gonna rebuild this?
Yes.
At some point.
At some point.
More important things at this point.
Yeah.
How are you doing, most importantly?
Cleaning, rebuilding, everything. Fucking up with the government.
Yeah, that's well, that's a part maybe for another video. As mentioned, Nasy is also running a donation page for his own shop and also the ones everyone affected. This shop has been actually used as more or less like an emergency supply service, right? You had lots of things here for people who were affected by the flood. And as mentioned, also people are still in need of supplies and help. Our group are also always going out every single day to help people out because unfortunately, as Nasy mentioned, no one else is doing it. So I hate to finish this video on a sad note, but it doesn't need to be a happy, nice video. So it is what it is. Thanks for watching, and I hope the next time I'll be back here, it will be even in a better condition. Yeah.
I think so.
Do you have electricity already?
Yes, since last week.
Oh, since last week, so it only took 2 months. 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, only 2.5 months. Do you have heating?
No.
So
So they tell us the heating comes in March.
in March,
Yeah,
after winter.
But the guys are completely crazy. They took all his engineers from around Germany,
Yeah.
put them here,
Yeah.
and now they tell us everyone in Ahrtal has gas
Yeah.
in November.
Okay.
So
But the winter comes in October somewhere.
today in the morning was crazy cold, 9 degrees.
Oh. Well, at least now you know how we felt back in Soviet Union.